The best closers are psychopaths. You ever realize psychopaths are actually good at what they do? If you look at some of the best athletes, some of the best musicians and artists, the best criminals, the best closers. I was a top closer at one of the largest sales training companies in the world, and I've seen the best of the best closers. And when I posted on my Facebook saying that, the best closers are psychopaths, I've had some people commenting, how? What do you mean? And some people commenting that, you see, Brian, psychopaths are a group of people that I don't care. First of all, Karen, I didn't mean literal psychopaths. Jesus, you must be fun at parties. Second of all, I thought to myself, might as well share some of the characteristics that psychopaths have that you can translate. That way you can become a psycho closer and beat most closers in the industry, even if you have less experience than them, even if you may be less skilled at them, just like I did. Let's get into it. Characteristic number 1. Numb to rejection and numb to fear of rejection. If you cannot handle rejection that well, if you cannot handle stress that well, if you cannot handle no's that well, you made a mistake. You chose the wrong profession. You should have went and become a regular 9-to-5 office employee instead. Because the name of the game in sales is that you are going to hear no's. You are going to hear rejections. And you're going to have people say, hey, listen, we decided to go in a different direction. You're going to have the sales almost done. They've put through the financing form. They got approved. And then at the end, they say, hey, listen, we're just going to go think about it. And you never hear from them ever again. Welcome to sales, baby. That's what we signed up for. If you cannot handle that well, then you shouldn't have gotten into sales. You shouldn't have become a sales professional. What bugs me the most is that people put this name of high ticket closer. Now, I'm just using the word high ticket closer because people can identify with themselves and people realize what that is. But we're not fucking high ticket closers. We are sales professionals. And what do professionals do? Just like how athletes are able to handle stress and chaos and pressure well, that's what we should be able to do. Because we're fucking professionals, not amateurs. And so the amateurs are what we call princess closers, where they cannot handle rejection that well. It's funny because recently I was invited to speak at a sales team here in Dubai. And I was kind of answering the questions and I was training their leadership team. And one of the head of sales asked me, hey, so Brian, how do you go about making your sales team, your sales reps stronger? How do you go about making a sales rep stronger? Because, one of our sales reps, they had 3 noses in a row and then they just call me complaining about all these different things. Well, then they're a fucking princess closer. So you should consider if you're going to keep that person or not. I personally will not, but that is up to you. Because that's just the name of the game. And so a lot of people cannot handle the stress well, which is why a lot of high-ticket closers, salespeople, they don't stick around in the industry for that long. If you realize sales is that role where it has the highest churn rate for different reasons. And number one is probably the least stable, is the most unstable, right? The most fluctuating role out of all the different roles because it's not like we have a base. If you're a closer, most of us, we're commission-only based sales reps, right? Therefore, we go out and hunt and make shit happen. And so a lot of people cannot handle that. As an example, if the marketing shits the bed, if the marketing goes up and down, or if whatever thing happens, right? So a lot of people cannot handle that. And a lot of people cannot handle, it's like, oh man, I heard no after no after no, what do I do? Now, I was able to deal with this better because I come from an interesting background. So when I was about 19, I got into the whole pickup community, the dating community, where you'd go out and literally cold approach people, cold approach women, cold approach random people in the world. And really I was trying to get better with my social skills, right? The number one goal I had was, I just wanted to lose my virginity, like most 19-year-olds would. And I wanted to get better with my social skills though. I wanted to become a better communicator. That was the more deeper, underlying, more fulfilling goal for me. And of course, I lost my virginity. But throughout the process, what I realized is I became a better human being. I became a better version of myself. I don't mean to sound like Tony Robbins' whole motivational speech here. However, if I went up and talked to a girl and she goes like, oh no, sorry, or she just gives you like a dirty look like this, at that moment, in the beginning, I was like, wow, there's something wrong with me. I took it very personally because, it's something that this person I'm less of a human being or something. And then I realized, it's just that some percentage of the people are gonna be like that. Some percentage of the people are gonna fucking love you. Some percentage of the people are just gonna fucking hate you. And some percentage of people, they have no opinions about you. But either way, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, whether it be women or whether it be prospects, how many are gonna actually show up to your wedding? How many are gonna show up to your funeral? Fucking none of them, right? Unless you develop a good relationship with the prospects, which I have with some of the businesses I sold for, which is great, that I still keep in contact with, just having friendly conversations. But nonetheless, the whole point is that it doesn't say anything about your self-worth and who you are as a person. All that is okay, we need to be able to compartmentalize what they said, and it's simply feedback. If the prospect said, let me think about it. If the prospect said, hey, we decided to go in a different direction, it is simply feedback. And what do we need to do? And which is why, as a side point, we want to keep the decisions as data-driven decisions. Because here's the paradox about sales. Is that sales, we help prospects get to an emotional state. That way they make an action. They take a buying decision. They take an action. That way they make a decision on changing their life. However, when we are problem solving our own shit, when we're problem solving our own sales, we put the emotions to the side as much as possible, and we objectively problem solve our sales and life as much as possible. That's the paradox of it. Okay? So it's also another thing too. At my last company, there were 2 people who got the most complaints from prospects on the sales team out of about 20 different closers. It was me and this other guy. We got the most amount of complaints. Now, guess who are the 2 people that made the most amount of money on that sales team? Me and also the other guy that got the most amount of complaints. So that's interesting, isn't it? Is that the 2 people that are getting the most complaints were making the most amount of money on the sales team. And so I'm not to say go out and get a whole bunch of fucking complaints, but there's a cause and effect. There's a causation that's happened here, because the 2 people at the company, we were not afraid of challenging the prospects. If the prospect were saying something that were not making sense, if the prospect said, yeah, I've been wanting to become better, I've been wanting to fix this problem's been going on for the last 9 months, and then they've only been in research mode for the last week, what about the other times? What about the other 8 months you've had this problem for? What about the other 8 months that you've been wanting to become a better version of yourself? Things are not adding up. And in that case, we would challenge them on that. Now, there's different ways to do about it, and there's different videos, at least some basic information on this video. And there's different things, obviously, that's more custom and tailored to your situation, right? Everybody's situation is different. Every call is different. However, nonetheless, when we spotted those things, our job was to obviously hold the prospects to a higher standard, just as an example. But because we were not afraid to speak that, we were able to walk away from that call, knowing that even if the call didn't close, you know what? I at least threw the kitchen sink at it. And you know what? I at least held them to a higher standard, which was my only fucking job on that call. And so because of that, listen, some people didn't like it. Some people complain. Some people send complaining emails to the influencer. Some people send complaining emails to myself or to the company. And I got into those. In the beginning, I was like, oh man, it's something I did wrong. I was freaking out. And then I realized, well, complaints I get those is simply feedback, but also as a correlation that, well, the people that are getting the most amount of complaints, we're making the most amount of sales. And again, it's not that, okay, more complaints equals more sales. It's just a byproduct of us not taking things personally. Because at the end of the day, the prospect can say no. The prospect can tell you to fuck off. It doesn't change who you are as a person, you know? So a lot of times people put too much, we're too attached to our work, and that's great. Obsess over it, get better, absolutely. But when you're done with work, you are still who you are. And if you're living with integrity, if you're living with, you know, you're a good person, you know, you're providing for the best life that you can for the people that you care about, then that's all we can do. And again, don't justify to yourself that, oh, I'm getting a whole lot of objections, that's a good thing. No, that's stupid. But simply realize, okay, these are feedback, I need to change it. Okay? Do I know how to change it? Then fucking do it. Now, if you knew how to change it, you would have fixed it by now. Okay, then who knows how to help me fix this? Right? So who knows how to help me fix this? Let me go to that person and let me just, okay, what do I gotta do? Let me learn from this person and let me just do exactly what the person tells me to do. And with the whole rejection thing too, my former boss, Matt Ryder, told me something interesting, which is, as a sales professional, you're not allowed to feel awkward. As a sales professional, we do not have the awkward gene. Because if you realize, people that feel awkward of going for the sale or trying to handle the objections or trying to challenge the prospect's vague answers or trying to go for the, hey, what happens if you don't do this? And trying to build that urgency, the people that feel awkward tend to get awkward response from the prospects. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you know what I mean by that? So self-fulfilling prophecy is, oh, I think this will happen And the thing ends up happening, but that wouldn't have happened if you didn't think that in the first place. It's kind of woo-woo, but I'll give you a practical example, okay? So as an example, so I had a few friends, and their whole belief, they're Asians. Their whole belief was that white girls are not into Asian guys. Because whenever they would go to America, they wouldn't get attention from white girls or American girls, so on and so forth. And so that was interesting for me because whenever I would go into America, or whenever I would meet a white girl or foreign girl, whatever you want to call it, yeah, some girls didn't like me, but I wasn't thinking it's because I'm Asian. I wasn't even thinking, oh, it's because I'm short. I'm 5'6", about 167 centimeters. I'm not that tall. However, I never thought, oh, it's because I'm short, oh, it's because I'm Asian. I'm like, well, what did I say or didn't say, or how did I carry myself or didn't carry myself that caused that reaction from the girl, from the person to happen in the first place? You know what I mean? So same thing is, so that was my self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, it's a skill set issue then. So I gotta work on that, right? But my other two friends, because their whole thing was like, oh, because I'm Asian, then I'm like, so they never ever got anywhere with white girls or foreign girls, right? And again, I'm not some dating expert or whatever it may be, but it's just like an interesting thing. It's like, we're same Asian. Objectively, you could say they have an advantage because they're a lot taller than I am. They're about 175 centimeters, about 5'10", 5'11". You could argue that they're better looking, but for whatever reason, they're having a tougher time than I do in that specific domain. It's because they thought to themselves, well, yeah, it's because I'm Asian, so it'll never work. And because they're thinking it'll never work, it doesn't work. Now, I don't think it's just all woo-woo in the universe or things like that. Maybe. But I think another element too is that because they think that, oh, it's because I'm Asian, foreign girls don't like Asian guys, when they go up to a foreign girl, when they're interacting with a foreign girl, they're carrying themselves in a way, in an unconfident manner. You see? So because like, oh, you know, they're subconscious thinking things. Maybe they're logically, consciously thinking this, but oftentimes they may be subconsciously thinking that, oh, you know, girls are not into Asian guys. And because of that, they kind of act weird. They act a bit unconfident. They're not saying the funny joke like they would. And so because of that, the girls are really not attracted to them, and the girls aren't really not bought into them. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not a dating expert, but I think that's what's going on. So same thing with sales is that if you think that, oh, it's weird asking this question, it's gonna be weird asking that fucking question. And you ask it a bit weird too. Instead of saying like, hey man, but I mean, what happens if you don't do this? And you keep feeling stressed out for another 6 months, 12 months. Instead of asking like that, maybe ask it like, yeah man, but I mean, what happens if you don't do anything about this? You see how that was a bit awkward? You're pulling your punches. You're having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And so if you have both foot on the gas and the brake, then the car's just gonna fry. The car's not gonna go anywhere. The engine's gonna fry, right? So same thing here. When I was playing music, I was a lead violinist in different orchestras. Very Asian, I know. And the conductor, the maestro, would always tell us, guys, if you're gonna make a mistake, fuck up big. Because otherwise, you don't know if you made a mistake or not. And it's funny because every conductor will tell us the same thing. And it's the same thing on sales calls. I'm not telling you go fuck up a bunch of times and things like that. But what I am saying is that go in there, if you're gonna ask a question, fucking ask it. And say what you mean and mean what you say. And don't worry about the rejection because it's gonna feel self-fulfilling prophecy. And so just realize that, okay, go take it as feedback. What do I need to get better? And what do I need to fix? And go fucking fix it. Second characteristic, unwavering certainty. You ever seen Kanye West in different interviews? There's one interview that popped up, which I thought was kind of funny. So he's talking to an interviewer, and the interviewer asks Kanye a question. Hey, what do you think about this? And Kanye just goes like this, and he doesn't answer for several seconds. And the interviewer goes, hey, Kanye, do you need some seconds? We can go back to the commercial and come back. And Kanye's like, no. I'm going to take some time to think about this question and my answer. I'm not just going to give you a bullshit answer. I'm going to use time to my advantage. Now re-ask the question. just the way he spoke, and everybody's in the comments is like, yo, this guy's for real? Like, what? It's like, what the fuck? And I like that a lot because, I mean, you could argue that Kanye West is probably not normal. Whenever I look at some of the best, even artists and musicians, they're not normal, right? Kanye West, he's probably up there, right? But also you could argue that he's produced some of the best music. And when he's produced different albums and music like that, people say, how was a human being able to get this from their brain? Like, how were they able to articulate this in a music form? And people say, I think these music pieces are maybe a generation ahead And so it's not fit for this generation. And so whether you like Kanye's music or not, I'll definitely say he's one of the best artists and probably like a generational talent. And when you look at that, it's just literally unwavering certainty, right? So same thing going into a sales call is that a lot of people, most closers are just very timid and they're lacking a lot of certainty. And I don't mean certainty in a sense that just rip off your shirt, do a bunch of fucking push-ups and jumping. We're not even talking about that because it's a bit try-hard. But what I mean by that is there's different levels of certainty, right? So I heard Eli Weil say this one time. There's different levels of certainty, and at the lowest level of certainty, you have uncertainty. And so what uncertainty is, yeah, guys, so today we're going to talk about certainty. I'm not quite sure what we're going to talk about. That's uncertainty. If you talk like that on a sales call, if you watch someone talk like that on a video, you're probably going to click off. You're not going to think that this person really has a game plan as a solution is even worth listening to. Okay. Now, most people have this because they've been taught that they need to be neutral. However, what they don't realize is they try to be neutral, they end up being timid and passive. And that's not what it's all about. You want to be assertive and you want to have certainty. It's just very contextual. Now, it's a whole nother topic that we're not going to go over in this video. And also certainty is one of those things where I cannot really just tell you in a video form because a lot of people just don't get it in the first try. It's like when you're riding a bike, how do you teach a kid how to ride a bike? It's like, or you got to turn 90 degrees here. It's not really like that, right? You got to kind of correct their form a little bit, just like shooting 3-pointers, right? If I went to the basketball court, I could watch some Steph Curry videos and try to shoot some 3-pointers, but I'm not going to be able to do it that effectively, right? So maybe Steph Curry comes on here, he's like, hey dude, your elbow's fucked up, tuck it in here. Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know, Steph Curry. It's those kind of things, right? Nonetheless, going back to the certainty thing, second level is absolute certainty. Now, absolute certainty is if you look at someone like Grant Cardone or Jordan Burford, those people, the old school salespeople, they're very hypey, right? Now, nothing wrong with that, but that used to work really well in the 80s, right? Because that's when those people really sold actively in the 80s, right? Now, could it be possible that consumers make decisions a bit different at 2025 or whenever you're watching this compared to the 1980s? Probably. Now, why is that though? Because back in the 80s, there wasn't this thing called the thing you're watching this right now, which is the internet and probably a cell phone. So what does that mean? Is that consumers and prospects lacked access to information. What does it mean? Is that salespeople were pretty much the only source of information. And therefore, salespeople could be a lot more aggressive. They're more opportunity-based selling. Hey, John, I got this amazing opportunity. If you got 60 seconds, I'd like to share that with you. You got a minute? That's how they sold, right? Now, nothing wrong with that. Again, it could still work, but back then it was a lot more effective because it was like, oh, yeah, I got this amazing thing. It's like, oh, I didn't know it was a thing. I don't see this on fucking Instagram. I don't see this on YouTube because I didn't have YouTube and Instagram back then. Let me listen to you. But in today's day and age, we have something called the thing you're holding this in your phone right now, in your hand right now, which is the cell phone and social media and the internet. And therefore, consumers and prospects are not willing to be bullied around by pushy salespeople anymore, right? And what I mean by pushy is like, yeah, again, there's times to be certain and assertive, yes, but not in a way like super hype, like, hey, buy this, I got this amazing thing. We all want to stay away from that, right? And so that's the absolute certainty. Okay, now the highest level is resolve. What is resolve? If I were to ask you, hey man, how confident do you feel tying your shoes? Are you gonna be like, I'm not quite sure? Are you also gonna be like, oh, I'm so sure, John? Or are you gonna be like, oh, yeah, of course? That is called resolve, collected certainty. You see, you're not going like, oh, hypey, but you're also like, oh, of course, duh, right? It's like, why are you even asking me that? Of course I know how to tie my shoes, right? So it's like a dull kind of moment. That's called resolve. That's at the highest level of certainty. Now, as time goes on, this may change, but this is the hierarchy of the different certainty. And so when you're talking with the prospect, and let's say the prospect is almost on the cusp of enrolling, and they go, hey, be honest, should I do this? Now, one level is like, well, I'm not sure. And another level is, of course you should do this. And the next level is, well, how do you feel? That's collective certainty, right? Because you already know the answers. They know what they should be doing to move forward. You know what they need to do, but you're not being like, oh, I'm biased, right? So that's usually what I say if a prospect's kind of on the fence, like, hey, what should I do, right? I just go, oh, what do you think? I'm biased. What do you feel you need to do? It's like, yeah, I need to do this. But why though? And you have them convince themselves because, because nothing changes, yada, yada, yada. Cool. What should we do? Yeah, let's do it. You see? And also, if they have different objections, if they're giving you vague answers, this is the level of certainty that comes through. Okay? Now, there are times to crank it up on that. It's very contextual. Objection handling is one of those things, especially. But if you know that, okay, this person has a problem, they need to do something, and you know your solution helps them, they know they need to do something, at that point, you're not just hopping off the call. You're not just being like, okay, let's book a follow-up call. Okay, cool. Well, feel free to reach out. No. You sit there and you help them realize that they need to make a change, and they need to make a change now. That's what certainty is, because certainty comes from also different sources as well, right? The external sources is that, well, you believe in your product. You gotta have strong belief in your product. Otherwise, you shouldn't be selling it, right? You should be selling something that helps people and actually helps them, right? And you believe in it. So that's number one. That's the external belief, okay? Second thing is conviction that this person needs to do something, okay? That's also, it's holding them to a higher standard because you hold yourself to a higher standard. That's not a whole different topic. But conviction that, okay, they need to do something. They told me and told themselves that they had XYZ problem. They feel stressed out. Their business is stuck. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Whatever, okay? Okay, and then the next one is conviction within yourself. Is conviction in your own ability. Okay, I know when I hop into the sales interaction, with that conversation with that person, I know I have conviction within my ability. I know how to ask the right questions. I know how to ask it. I know when to ask it. I know exactly what to do when I get a vague answer. I know exactly how to pre-handle objection. I know exactly how to handle all the different types of objections. I can do it with my fucking eyes closed. That's conviction within yourself. Now, if you don't have that, go fucking get it. Because where does real confidence comes from? You shouting random empty affirmations into the mirror every morning? Or is it you actually having competence? Because listen, those affirmations, I'm sure it's better than nothing, right? However, when you hop on an actual sales call and the prospect gives you a vague answer, you're lost. You don't know what to do. Well, where does confidence go? Shattered into the ground like a bunch of pieces, like an empty eggshell. So real confidence comes from not just empty confidence, but from competence, right? Knowing that you have the competence. You're a competent person. You're a competent sales professional. You know exactly how to go about it, okay? As well, confirmation trumps affirmations. What do I mean by that? So affirmation is like, oh, I am a good person. I am a good salesperson. I know I can do this. That's something. That's one level. That's kind of surface theory, though. Confirmation is confirmation that you know how to do it. You have closed a lot of deals. You're the top producer in your company. If you don't have that, go get the competence, go get those confirmations. And if you have that, you're going to have more conviction in yourself as well. You see? Third, tireless persistence. I don't know if you watch basketball. I watch basketball. And if you remember, there was one time, I can't remember if it was 2016 or 2017, LeBron James and his team, I think he was on the Cavs back then, was going up against, I believe, the Golden State Warriors, against Steph Curry and pretty much, I think, Klay Thompson, I believe KD, Kevin Durant, or whoever's on the team back then. And LeBron faced himself in a situation where they were down 3-1, right? Now, if you don't watch basketball, in the NBA championship, in the NBA finals, it's a 7-game series, right? Meaning that whoever wins 4 games first wins the series. Now, LeBron and the Cavs, or whoever, they found themselves in a situation where they're down 3-1. So the opposing team, they won 3 games. And then their team, LeBron's team, only won 1 game. Now, if the other team wins 1 more game, they're done. And what does that mean? They need to win 3 games in a row against Steph Curry, Hall of Famer, arguably the best shooter the history of the league has ever seen, and other all-stars on the team too. Now, at this point, the statistics showed that no team in the NBA Finals has ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. None. I think out of 38 teams or 40 teams or something like that. Not a single one. So at this point, people will be discouraged. They're like, well, is that even a point? I mean, we can kind of try, but I mean, no team has ever done. And to be fair, it's valid, right? Now, after that game, after one of those games, LeBron was heading back into the locker room in the tunnel. Now, I don't know if that was this series or whatever, but LeBron, interviewer was asking something, and LeBron said, well, tired is in the mind. I don't get tired. And that just struck with me, is that I'm not a huge mindset guy, but just the attitude, the cycle. Everyone could say, but LeBron, you're down 3-1. No team has ever come back. LeBron, you're tired. You have gone through all these different games. You've faced so many different difficulties throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. What do you mean? Aren't you tired? And LeBron goes, no, tired isn't the mind. I don't get tired. And that's the same attitude in sales. When I was at Sales Sniper, which was the sales agency that I was a part of, and then it is at the time the top sales, the best sales agency with the best closers in the industry. Even the most difficult offers you can sell on, these closers really closing deals. And when we were there, we had a mantra, we had a slogan, which is, you can run, but you'll just buy tired. And it's just an attitude that we had. Now, it can sound a bit sleazy, but I don't even care. It ain't easy being sleazy, right? And so what that means is that, well, the prospects, you can give objections, but I'm going to sit here. We're going to help you overcome your own objection. And if you run out of time, let's say you go into a follow-up, well, dude, you can run, but I'm going to keep calling you, and you're just going to buy. And you're going to take action on your goals. You're going to put yourself in a better position to get to your goal. That's all that's going to happen. You can keep running. You can keep ghosting. You can keep making yourself excuses. You can keep saying that it's hard. You can keep saying that you're afraid. You can keep saying that you got to think about it, but you will just buy tired. You'll just take action on your goal tired. So I'm going to keep going. That's just the whole attitude. So I'll give them a practical example. At my last company, I started out selling B2C deals, the typical 3K packages, 10K programs, 50K programs, stock standard. At one point, I got moved up to selling the B2B deals because the top closers on the team now started getting the B2B leads. We didn't have a whole lot, but I did have one B2B lead where I was talking to their COO, okay? I was talking to the COO, okay, he's agreed. I've had other calls with different people in their department as well, and then I got a verbal agreement. Fantastic. It was for a 30K contract, okay, 30K deal. Now, the next call, we scheduled a follow-up. All we had to do was hop on that call. They signed a contract, they paid the invoice, and ready to go. Now, what happened was they canceled the follow-up call for whatever reason. I was like, okay, great. So I called them, didn't answer. Okay, cool. Next day, call them again, didn't answer. Next day, called them from a different number, also didn't answer. Left a text, didn't respond. Now, most closers in the industry after this point usually give up. They usually stop calling them, whatever happens. Now, I didn't though, because you can run, but you'll just buy tired. And so what I did was, okay, cool. I went to their website and found different contact numbers from different people in their company. Okay, I found out the HR person's phone number. I call them. I call their office phone number. Oh, he's not available at the moment. Okay, cool. When would he be available? Okay, cool. Sounds good. I send them an email. I send them a funny GIF. The next day, a couple of days later, I send them a helpful resource specific to their situation and their problems. Don't get a response. Okay, a few days later, different phone number. All sorts of things. Different times of the day, different days of the week, you name it. Now, this would go on for quite a bit. At times, they'll respond with like a dismissive answers like, hey, sorry, I was busy. Hey, well, let's push this off. I'd get those answers. But again, you can run, but you'll just buy tired. And so I kept doing that. At one point, they picked up the phone and they paid the invoice and they signed a contract for 30K. And that was that. I counted all the touch points in the CRM and it was about 28. Okay. So it took me about 28 different contact points. Now, it took quite a bit of time, maybe like a couple of weeks, few weeks, maybe even more than that, maybe several weeks. But what they did was, okay, cool. They eventually closed the deal. It's not like I was doing this with only this lead either. I was doing this with pretty much all the leads I could get my hands on. Now, obviously, I couldn't follow up with every single lead, but all the leads I could get my hands on, I was following up with that, being uber persistent. And I had a process for that too, and that's the more tactical side of things. But when it comes to the psycho level attitude towards it, that was just the attitude that I had. Because, I mean, what else am I going to do? I have a no-show right now. Am I just going to go take a walk? I could take a quick walk, and you could. Or I could just watch random YouTube videos. I could play PlayStation. Or I could just dial this lead, take a few seconds. I'm at my desk anyway. What else am I going to do? And so this is how, on that team, prior to this, I had no B2B sales experience. I had none, right? I didn't know how to do multi-threading. I didn't know how to involve the different stakeholders. I didn't know how to do I didn't know. But what I did was, obviously I studied and I trained for that. But another part of this, what else are we going to do? Keep fucking calling them from different angles. That's all we're going to do. And so because of that, before I left, I was either number one or number two in terms of the most B2B revenue generated out of the closers, out of the different closers in the team. And I didn't know fucking B2B sales, right? Other people had B2B experience. Other people had whatever. But I just said, well, let me just keep doing that. And that's really the bar, the standard in the industry is so low. It is so low that it's sad. That if you just try a bit harder than most people, then you can beat most people. And that's what I did. And so can you. And listen, you may have moments where you want to give up, or you're like, did I even make the right decision getting into sales? Is sales even for me? Should I even keep, why do I even bother? You may have moments. You may have had those moments. You may go through this moment right now. And all I can say is if you quit, you end up a quitter. But if you persist, either you fucking die or you make it work. Hormozy has a saying, right? Which is, I cannot lose if I do not quit. We cannot lose. We do not become a loser if we do not become a quitter. That's simply what it is. I mean, I can name different instances too. Recently, we've had students that come in where they were about to quit sales, right? This one student in particular, he came in, he pretty much had no money. He called his buddy, borrowed the money, and then we started training. And at that point, he was about to give, I didn't know that, he told me this later, but he said, yeah, man, you know, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with building urgency and keep getting these objections. I'm losing my confidence. It's killing my confidence. I was like, yeah, man, let's go to work. And then, okay, so we gave him access to the training portal. He's obsessing over this shit. Okay, this is my light at the end of the tunnel. Let me just make this work, right? Obsessing, studying, practicing. We train. I point out his blind spots. Okay, this is where you're fucking up. Do this. Fix it like this. You're overcomplicating and simplify. And then what happened was he went from he was making about $800 a week in commissions, right? $800 per week in commissions. And then 1 to 2 weeks after that, he was making $2,000. 2.5K a week in commissions per week. And so if you look at that, it's a very gradual change that happened within a week or two. That doesn't mean it's going to happen for you. But why that happened was because, number one, he didn't fucking quit. But he just gave it one more crack, is the moral of the lesson here. Is that after going through all these programs, getting more confused, getting more complicated information coming on his head, he didn't say, oh, you know, might as well, what's the whole point? He tried one more time, and so he 2.5x'd his commissions per week in about 1 to 2 weeks, right? And then what he did was he referred his friend to us. His friend was going through the same thing, which is he took all these big group programs and he was getting more complicated. He didn't know what to do. He lost his confidence. He said it's been killing his confidence. Same thing. Okay, cool. He got resourceful. Get into the program. Get access to the training platform. Obsess over that shit. And then we look at what he's doing wrong, make a few adjustments. And he goes from collecting about 5K a week to 25K a week. Actually, I think he was collecting about 2K a week because he said he about 10x his cash collection in about 1 to 2 weeks. So he went from about 2.5K collected per week to 25K collected per week in about 1 to 2 weeks. Do you get that? And so, but the whole point is that he was about to give up too, right? I mean, I think he was close to it. And so he was killing his confidence, but he's like, you know what? Let me just give it one more go. That's the only thing we can do. And that's the whole thing about life, especially if you have children right now, or if you're going to get children one day. I mean, why would you tell them? You know, now let's forget about the prospects. What would you tell the prospects if you're feeling fear of failure? But what would you tell your own children or future children if they said, oh, Dad, but I'm afraid of trying this? What would you tell them? Well, you probably tell them, well, son, the whole point is that you got to fail. You got to, even if you have fear of failure, you got to go through it anyway. So that's the difference between being fearless and being courageous, is that it's not that the successful people, they don't feel fear at all. Yes, they're more numb to it, but they do it despite of it. So number one, they're numb to it. Number two, they're despite of it. And that's called being courageous, is that you take action despite of feeling fear. And that's what separates the average mediocre people so that people actually accomplish anything substantial in life. Which segues into the next point, which is numb to fear of failure. Here's the thing about life is that, again, not to be fucking Tony Robbins on you, but we're going to have fear. We're going to have fear of failure. That's the normal part of being a human being. And we had to do that, by the way. It's not your fault or our fault. It's just that we have it genetically programmed into our DNA that we have to have fear of failure. Because when we're living in caveman times, going back to evolutionary psychology, is that we had to have fear of failure. We had to point out the negatives. Okay, what if happens is this? Because let's say we're in a cave and we're trying to explore to find some food in a different shelter. And if we're going about that, let's say we're in the forest, then we had to be, okay, what if this happens? What if a lion pops up? We had to have that, because if we didn't have it back then we could have died. So in order for our species to keep reproducing and procreating, we had to spot out the negatives. However, what's different now is that we're not living in caves anymore. We're not, a lot of the fear that we have now is very, very irrational. And this is something I learned throughout the dating community, is that all the fears that we have is irrational, right? Us going up and talking to the girl and them saying like, oh, fuck off for slapping. We may have that, but that is completely irrational, meaning that it doesn't make any sense. It's probably not going to happen, right? So same thing is that when we go about life, whether, I don't know, let's say we are getting into sales as an example, that was kind of scary. It could have been, right? Maybe you're a 9-to-5 job, maybe you're a civilian, or maybe whatever the thing you was, right? At that point, when I got into sales, I was trying to make this business thing work. I couldn't really figure this out. And so that's when I got into sales. I had that fear too. I was like, yeah, but what if I'm not that good at it? Yeah, but what if I don't like it? But I'm like, well, what's the whole fucking point? Is that what's the only way to find out? I gotta fucking do it. And let me make it work. That's the whole point. And then when I got into sales, I was about 1 to 2 weeks in. When I was getting on my sales calls, I was like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. I had that fear failure too. But yeah, we just gotta go through it anyway. We just gotta get better. And then after about a week or two, I thought to myself, man, as I mentioned earlier, okay, I know I need to get better. I need to learn from people who can help me. And so I need to invest in myself in terms of training, just like an athlete would invest in their coaching. Okay, cool. What do I gotta do? Okay. It's gonna cost me some money. It's gonna cost me a lot of money, but I know I need to do it. And so when I got on the call with Jeremy Miner sales guy at that point, because I was getting trained, I was looking to get trained by Jeremy and Matt. So I had a little bit of fear, I suppose. It's like, oh, you know, what if I do this training? And I guess I had a little bit of, actually, I didn't have much of that, because the fear of something else outweighed the fear, because I knew what the price point was, right? I knew it was going to be at 18 grand and the lowest payment plan was 3 grand a month for 6 months. And all the money I had to my name was 3.5K, okay? I had $3,000 in my bank account and about $500 in my PayPal. Actually, not the opposite. $3,000 in my PayPal and $500 in my bank account. And so what that meant was after that 3 grand, I pretty much had nothing to my name left, right? But I wasn't really afraid of it, because at that point, number one, I was numb. I've invested in different things like I mentioned, personal development, fitness, and dating. And so I wasn't that afraid of investing in myself, number one, even though it was the biggest investment I've been making. And number two, the fear of staying mediocre, the fear of regrets, the fear of being behind heavily outweighed the fear of failure. Because here's the thing, either or, something's gotta outweigh. It's not like we can get, if you cannot get rid of it, just replace it with something, right? And so if you cannot completely get rid of the fear of failure, then you got to replace that with fear of something that's going to heavily outweigh that. And so that was for me, because I mean, if I'm lucky enough to make it to my deathbed, and let's say I look back at my life, right? And I'm like, man, what if I would have taken that bet? Man, I wonder where my life could have been if I would have taken a bet on myself that day. Isn't that fucking scary? Doesn't that scare you? That's way more scary to me than me, oh, what if this doesn't work? At least I fucking tried. At least I went for it. I can live with that. But me not even going for it, fuck, that's so much more painful. It's like that feeling where you see a pretty girl walking by and you don't say something. Oh, so much more painful than you saying something. She said, go fuck off. It's like, at least I try something. You know what I mean? And a lot of the fears that we think we have, Hormozy has a saying, right? Which is, fear is an inch deep and a mile wide. Meaning that we think all these scary things will happen, but in reality, oftentimes it's not that. You just fucking go for it and just, okay, you give it your fucking crack at it, and you fucking try again. That's it. You get back up. You pick yourself back up. That's really, but at least you went for it. And quite frankly, you know, we'll talk about in a point after this too. But I have a fear of that. I have a fear of regret, because I saw people around me where they did not go for what they wanted to do. And so because of that, they've been stuck in this fucking square. They've been stuck in this fucking bubble. And I see their life after 3 years later, 5 years later, 7 years later, they're in the exact fucking spot. They're in the exact same fucking spot in their life. Pretty much nothing has changed. And when I see that, man, I'm sure you know people too like that in your hometown or your old friends, whoever. You see that firsthand. You know how you ask consequence questions to prospect? Hey, what happens if you don't do this? But you're seeing the future. You're able to see a free preview of what your consequence could be. if you keep going at the rate you are, if you don't get outside of your comfort zone, if you don't move with urgency, doesn't this scare the shit out of you? It scares the shit out of me. And so because of that, if you're afraid of something, going back to the whole thing of sales is a mirror. If we don't get outside of our own comfort zone, how can we ask our prospects to get outside their comfort zone? Same thing, right? If you ever get children, how are you going to tell your children to get outside their comfort zone and get over their fear if we ourselves are not willing to? And therefore, we just need to live up to the highest standard version of ourselves. That way, we can hold our other people that we care about to a higher standard of version of themselves too. Next, extreme drive and urgency to get to their goal. Most closers, most people have no urgency in their life and get to their goal. They have none. They think they do. I was like, oh no, I want this. Oh, I'm urgent to get to it. But they're just not. And I know within the first 5 seconds of talking to somebody, I can already tell. You can tell if somebody really wants something and they're really hungry just by their eyes. You can tell the people that are urgent getting to their goal, their eyes are lit up. You can tell. Just the way they speak, the way they speak about anything, the way they speak about their goal, it's just totally different. Most people have this lackadaisical attitude. It's like, oh, just another day, autopilot mode. And that's why they are where they are. It's just not rocket science. It's common sense. When I was at 7th level, at the time, CEO Matt Ryder, he gathered all the closers in a training call one day. And then it was more of a serious call. It was like, hey guys, I see that some people here have a lackadaisical attitude, just going about day to day and just some of you are slacking. You know who you are. Just understand, you're either on the train track, off the train getting behind, but the train is taking off either or. Are you on the train or not? And what he meant was that, listen, we are getting to our fucking goal. We're getting to point B. Are you on the train or not? Are you going to get left behind? Are you going to be on the fucking train track? Are you on the train? You decide. Because, and I really admired that attitude a lot from Matt, is that I'm going to get to my goal. I don't have time. Listen, man, I don't have time. I'm getting to my goal. What are you going to do? And because some people have this attitude, like, day by another day, right? I have some old friends that I don't stay in contact with that much, and some people that obviously I want to do better. And I have this one friend where his life really, he has discipline in other areas of his life, but when it comes to business, he doesn't. He and I both already talk about this. I said this to his face too. And he and I on a phone call one day, he's like, hey, Brian, dude, how are you have so much discipline and how are you moving at so much speed? And I see that you're progressing quite a bit in your business and in your life. And I'm like, oh, how do you not have urgency? I don't understand. How do you not have urgency? He's like, oh, I don't know. And we talked about it. And I asked him, oh, are you still living in Thailand? Because he's been living in Thailand for the last 3 to 5 years. He's like, well, yeah. Then are you surprised? And he's like, maybe you have a point. And he was talking about how people in Thailand were making 5K a month. If they make 5K a month, they're happy. They're very, very happy. And so, of course, there's no reason for him to actually have urgency. Which is a side note in terms of environment, because environment is a huge factor, because we all here, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. We all understand that, but people don't really act upon it. Either they don't know how to, or they don't know what to do, which is a lifestyle design thing, lifestyle optimization. We don't have time for that on this video. But yeah, I mean, yeah, no wonder. So because you're lacking that urgency, you're just staying in the same spot in that realm, in that domain, in terms of your business and your financial success. And I told him that too. And so most people just have this, right? People live in Bali, people live in Thailand. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that when I see people living in Bali and Thailand, it's just, there's kind of kumbaya attitude. It's like, oh, just another day. No, nothing wrong with Bali and Thailand. In fact, I'm going to Bali next week because I got invited to a business mastermind, and we'll see how much I hate it, how much I love it. But my friend was like, hey, dude, let's stay for longer. Let's stay for 1 month. I'm like, nah, I'm bouncing after 1 or 2 weeks, fam. Because I know I'm going to get comfortable with that island life, right? I know some people are going to get triggered by that. Listen, if you're really happy living in Bali or Thailand, I'm just as a hypothetical example, right? Just like a very specific example. It's not just about Bali or Thailand. You get the whole point of it. Don't think one-dimensional. However, if you want to accomplish more bigger things in your life, you and I both know you need more urgency. You know you could be doing better. You know you could be accomplishing bigger things. You know you could be being a better version of yourself. But if you're lacking urgency, how are you gonna do that in a timely manner? You think you have time? You think you have time? There's another thing too, that people think they have time. And there's a saying, right? Some people say Buddha said it, I don't know who said it. The problem is you think you have time. And I think I said this story a few times, I'll say it again. When I was 21, I had a best friend from high school that died when he was 20. So we all hear the Instagram quote, hey, tomorrow's not guaranteed, live your life to the fullest, blah, blah, blah. We all hear it. But when you see your own best friend, someone you care about, not in his body, but in his casket, he's cold. And next thing, he's in a glass jar next to other glass jars. That's when you finally understand. That's when you finally get it. Because I thought he had tomorrow. I thought I'd see him tomorrow. He thought he had tomorrow. He was going to his guitar lesson that he does every day. Same crosswalk. Car comes out of nowhere. It's all over. And so ever since that day, my perspective on time has never been the same. So even when I was younger, in my early 20s, people say, Brian, you're very wise. Like, people say that to me, right? Brian, you're wise. You have these life philosophies, things like that. I'm like, I don't think it's wise. I just saw shit, right? And it's not like I've been in a war zone. There's worse problems in the world. I just want to make that clear. But I just saw that firsthand, and that just broke my entire paradigm and my entire perspective on life. So even when I was younger, I was like, I knew time's not infinite. And we all logically get this, but I saw it firsthand. I'm telling you, I saw it firsthand. And so whenever I see people thinking that people they have time, dude, what? Especially people that say, I want to retire my parents. How old are they? Oh, my mom's 60, my dad's 65. Are they still working? Yeah. Why do you want to retire them? Oh, because, they've done so much for me and I don't want to see them keep working. I don't want to see them being like one of those people working at Walmart when they're 70. You do realize that's most people, right? Working until they're 70, working at Walmart. He's like, yeah. Okay. So, are your actions matching it? Oh, I'm kind of trying. Kinda? It'd be nice to. Kinda. I think. That's the fucking problem, you see? The language we use, that's the fucking problem. Because if you say, kinda, it'd be nice to, I think. What does it say that about your level of commitment and urgency with your goal? What does it say about it? Because the choice of vocabulary that we use came from your brain, right? The way you think. And the way we think dictates our actions. And so if that's the way that you speak, I mean, it makes sense. That's the way you've been acting. Do you see the correlation? So, you think your parents have time? Is that what it's all about? You think your parents have time? Bro, you think your parents are going to be healthy forever? You think you're going to be healthy forever? You think you have time? This is terrible, man. So just realize, in the micro, we need to have a level of urgency. And that's what I see in all the successful people, is that they have an extreme level of urgency and drive to get to their goal. It's just they're a different level of being. Now, this, for most people, this is never going to happen. I'm not saying this to be funny. It's just that most people don't have this, which is why most people in the world are not successful. You got to realize, when you look at Instagram, when you look at Facebook, when you look at YouTube, it seems like everybody's successful. You got to realize, a very small number of people are. Vast majority of people are not successful. An average American has a grand, $1,000 to their name, apparently. That's most people. And you may say, I'm not going to be like that, I'm different. But our actions got to match it too. The way of our being have got to be different too. Because otherwise, we end up like everybody else. And everybody else are everybody else for a reason. They act like everybody else. They think like everybody else. They're being like everybody else. And so understand. So just understand that if we want to get an extraordinary outcome, that needs to come with an extraordinary amount of actions and urgency and commitment. So 3 years ago, I was at my parents' house and stuck inside the four walls and trying to make this thing work. I locked myself in the room. I said I'm gonna make this work. I made a choice. I signed a contract with myself. I'm gonna do it. And then within a few months, I was out of my parents' house, right? I took my parents' house to a nice restaurant. I moved out. I traveled to Europe like I said I was gonna do. Then I moved to Dubai like I said I was gonna do. I moved into my dream apartment like I said I was gonna do. Rent was 6K a month, 5.7K a month. I said I was gonna do and I did it. I said I was gonna hit 10K a month and I hit it. I said I was gonna hit 20K a month and I hit it. I said I was gonna hit 30K a month and I hit it. I said I was gonna hit 100K a month and I hit it. But I didn't just say I was gonna do it. I moved to an extreme level of urgency. So a lot can change in a matter of a year, 2 years, 3 years. And the thing is, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that time's gonna come no matter what. And if the time's gonna come no matter what, when would you rather take some serious action about it? Later or now? And again, it's not rocket science, right? So the time's gonna come no matter what. However, what kind of actions we take, with what level of urgency that we act on right now, dictates the reality we'll be living in about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Right now, as the time I'm talking right now, it is April going to May. Soon enough, it's gonna be Halloween. A few months after that, it's gonna be, well, Thanksgiving's gonna come first, right? So you're gonna be around your family, or whatever it may be. Then it's gonna be Halloween. Then it's gonna be, you're gonna hear Christmas music playing everywhere. It's gonna be Christmas. Then the firecracker is gonna come off yet again, and it's gonna be 2026. As awkward as it sounds. So if the time's gonna come no matter what kind of Thanksgiving would you rather have? What kind of Halloween? What kind of Christmas? What kind of New Year's Eve would you rather have? Would you rather have the same one that you had last year, just fucking mediocre, giving a Starbucks gift card to your parents? Would you rather give something better? Would you rather give them a better life? Would you rather have a better life? Would you rather become a bit different person? And that choice comes from now. So you may be wondering at this point, hey man, this all thing is good, but what is the actual tactics and the processes? What do I need to do to actually succeed as a high ticket closer and make more money and have a better life for myself and the people that I care about? Well, I did map out a video, basically step by step, fleshing out what you need to do or what I did, so you can just copy me. So you can go here, or you can go to the first link in the description box below, and I'll see you there.